In fact, it took nearly till 1975 to unlock the secret of the Syrian sword of Indian wood steel. The irony is, the most important legacy of the ancient Indian metalworkers was not the recipe of the steel, but a byproduct of the search for it.
Over the centuries, many metallurgists came to believe the blade's secret lay in its unique surface pattern called water structure. The pattern, some suggested, indicated that carbon content was the key. And while that was true, all attempts to reproduce wood steel failed.
And we have some latest equipments also.
In a modern lab where they develop new steel products, I met Mr. S.K. Mahajan, a sheet metal expert.
Okay, what changes with steel?
He's benefiting from the search for the secret to wood steel.
There are a lot of developments in the automobile sector, white goods sector.
Across Europe, researchers compared different metals under a microscope. They never found the secret to the magnificent metal, but what they did find was a lot of very useful information. So one byproduct of the search for wood steel was metallurgical microscopy. Discovered in 1822, it is still used today to evaluate the strength and purity of metals.
So this is what happens inside?
This side, I'll show you the rolling mill.
To see another byproduct of the search for wood steel, I took Mr. Mahajan up on an offer to inspect a rolling mill. This is one of the largest sheet metal producers in India.
For centuries, metallurgists and blacksmiths tried mixing iron with everything from zinc to lead in an effort to replicate wood steel. Along the way, they took note of various new combinations and the interesting properties they had. In 1822, an English researcher by the name of Michael Faraday added chromium. He didn't get woods, but he did get a steel alloy which we could hardly live without.
Stainless steel evolved from Faraday's inspired research. What would we do without it? Using heat and pressure, the alloy steel sheets are processed to become appliances, automobiles, and other everyday tools and utensils. What makes stainless steel so desirable is that it doesn't rust, a property we easily take for granted. Today, steel alloys are the backbone of modern life, everywhere in the world. Owing a profound debt to the ancient Indians, we use them anywhere from airplanes to operating rooms. But besides wood steel, the ancient Indian metalworkers had more tricks up their sleeves. And to see some of their most monumental achievements, I travelled to the East Indian state of Orissa. Because it was here where in the 13th century AD, King Narasimhadeva commissioned a magnificent temple dedicated to the Hindu sun god Surya. Sun worship is one of the oldest forms of religion, not only in India. Konark Temple is the embodiment of Surya's daily ride across the sky. His chariot has 12 wheels, one for each month of the year. It's pulled by 7 horses, one for each day of the week. Konark Temple is one of India's most astounding sights. Though much of the original structure has decayed, I could see that the remains bear witness to the accomplishments of the ancient builders.
Researchers know a lot about how the temple was built because of the locals' deep attachment to it. The ancient Indian contractors kept detailed accounts of the construction on palm leaf manuscripts like this one. But some local families kept the original manuscripts, from which we have an astonishingly detailed record of the project, stretching back 1,000 years.
Organised with mathematical precision, the manuscripts tell of a highly technical building process which was completed in only 12 years. Stone blocks were the principal building material. Ironworkers played an important role in this ancient construction technique. They were the ones to forge these interlocking clamps, designed to hold the stone blocks firmly in place. What is new in this temple is that its builders relied on the innovative powers of the ancient metal workers.
Using the same basic technique of heating iron ingots and hammering them together, blacksmiths created beams up to 20 feet long and weighing over 5 tons. You can see here where the individual ingots were joined together. In so doing, the ancient blacksmiths created the first beams used in construction, a remarkable application of a simple technology.
Though there's evidence that other cultures used metal to join sections of stone, the ancient Indians were the first to incorporate long metal beams as structural components.
This is an impressive piece of engineering. Hand-forged iron girders support massive stone lintels to form the supporting structure of the building. During early explorations of the site, more than 20 girders were found throughout the temple. Now, given that each of these girders weighs around 10,000 pounds, and the stone lintel probably just as much, it's truly amazing that the workers could lift such a massive weight. The mystery was solved when researchers analysed the palm leaf manuscripts. It seems the builders relied on an imaginative mechanism created by the blacksmiths and a local source of auxiliary power.
Using hand-forged iron pulleys and ropes, the stone lintels were placed on wooden planks. Elephants were trained to step on these to raise the lintel pieces in the air, while a team of men pulled on the ropes to set them on the girders. Throughout the construction, elephants did the heavy work. From lifting to grading, they were not only the cranes but the bulldozers, levelling the building site before the foundation was laid. Their labour has made them immortal.
When you think how important elephant power was to the temple builders, statues like this one make a lot of sense. The elephants deserve to be remembered for their contribution to one of the great monuments of ancient engineering and architecture.
While temples like Konark rise to the skies as monuments to the innovative power and riches of ancient India, other extraordinary structures were built in the opposite direction. Underground water buildings like this one became the legacy of the ancient Indian craftsmen. They were the lifesavers in the ancients' never-ending struggle against flood and drought. The monsoon's powerful rhythms have shaped life in India since earliest times. Today, they continue to do so. 90% of India's rain falls during a 3-month downpour. The deluge saturates wetlands and swells the sacred rivers, which Hindus view as goddesses, brought to earth to help humanity. For those living in arid regions, the monsoon brings life. The need for water during the 9 dry months inspired the ancient Indians to develop a unique architecture. This is one of the most spectacular examples of ancient water harvesting structures. This step pond in northern India taps into a deep reservoir where it is believed sacred rivers mix. This stunning structure allows access to groundwater year-round. Its step architecture is one of India's most ingenious inventions, showcasing the expert skills of the ancient Indian stoneworkers.
This style of architecture, which is unique to India, is called a water building. This particular one, the Chandbauli step pond, is the largest of its kind. Step architecture, which could be round or rectangular, was designed to meet both practical and spiritual needs in India's driest regions.
Stone blocks became steps, facilitating the long walk down to the life-saving resource. And a long descent it was. The pond is over 5 stories down, and farther still when the water level drops during the dry months.
With stone blocks, you could build square corners and curves and keep the layers level regardless of the incline, whereas temple architects used stone blocks to build upwards, creating vaults and chambers. Step wells and ponds were built in the reverse direction. But first, they had to find the water.
A large tree was often the clue to the source. Near the tree, a rectangular well was dug to check the depth of the groundwater and confirm its purity. The well was widened into a rectangular pond, which was then lined with stone blocks. The step architecture kept the walls close together to reduce evaporation and ensure that the pond stayed cool. Allegedly, this was done with a special effect in mind.
Indians have a long tradition of water cooling methods. Evidence indicates that evaporation was put to a novel purpose centuries ago. European accounts of the 19th century tell of rows of shallow pottery vessels containing water, which were covered with straw and exposed to a draft. The evaporation chilled the water and could even produce small quantities of ice. Let's see if it works.
I waited only a few minutes, and while I didn't expect to see any ice, the thermometer told me it really works.
It's actually dropped by a few degrees. It seems like the ancients had an innovative way of making their lives a little more comfortable.
Dating back 1,000 years, water buildings like these show the advancement of ancient Indian science and technology. And what's more, the water harvesting techniques that sustained them for centuries are now inspiring modern applications. One project may just become a role model for others. Laparia is a small farming village some 2 hours' drive from Jaipur, in one of the driest regions of India. In a good year, the 3 monsoon months bring 12 to 35 inches of rain to Laparia, and that's usually enough to provide water for the people, their livestock and their crops all year round.
However, the monsoon is, well, the monsoon. In some years it brings 35 inches of rain, in other years only 5. With the population of the area increasing, water shortages become a serious problem. In 1982, a water management crisis inspired a local visionary. He tackled the problem using an ancient yet innovative approach.
हम सब लोग इकट्ठे होकर के और सब लोगों ने मिलके काम किया.
Laxman Singh, a member of a prominent local family, has dedicated his life to reviving traditional rainwater harvesting methods in a parched and barren land.
तालाब बने हैं, सारे लोग निठल्ले ना बने, कम से कम.
Mr. Singh explained that before he took up this cause, most modern approaches had failed because they were foreign to the villagers. So instead, he reminded them of their ancient wisdom. The water methods used in the construction of step ponds and step wells inspired the Laparia squares. Based on an ancient technique, the starting point is a gentle slope in the landscape. A large patch of the slope is divided into rectangular units of approximately 200 by 400 feet. Each unit is enclosed by dikes along the 3 sides that lie towards the lower part of the gradient. They're called chaukas, meaning squares. This zigzag pattern on the land allows rainwater to enter the square and fill it up. Excess flows into the next square and then onto the next. Runoff flows into a storage pond or tank. Collected water percolates through a soil filter into the groundwater, which is pumped up through the village wells. As Mr. Singh explained the process in more detail, I realised that this low-tech, high-intelligence irrigation strategy manages a limited water supply most efficiently. In fact, Laxman Singh's approach was producing more drinking water as well as sufficient water for their pastures and farmlands.